Hello there, drama. My name is Satonia Samson, and my partner's name is.
Christopher Clark, how are you guys doing today? Today I'll be looking at the definition of drama, the development of drama, and the types of drama um in the past. And my partner, Mr. Tony, will be looking at.
I'll be looking at dramatic techniques, other concepts relating to drama, and the types of stages.
Okay, so let's get straight into it. So the definition of drama. The word drama comes from the Greek meaning to act, do, or perform, and it is in the several subtle and diverse meaning of to perform that drama can be said to have begun. History of Western drama. Drama was presented at Festival of Dionysus, the god of wine and fertility, who was worshipped to ensure the return of spring and fertility. The Theater of Dionysus. Theater was presented during the Festival of Dionysia, god of fertility. Originally, audience sat on ground while chorus danced in a circular area. Gradually, better seating for audience evolved as well as permanent stages, separation of actors from chorus onto elevated stage. The transition. After the fall of Greece, Rome copied Greek drama with minor changes. Only have plays from three Roman playwrights, two comedians, Terence and Plautus, and one tragedian, Seneca. These playwrights are important to us because during the Italian Renaissance, they were the most accessible plays to Italian playwrights, intent on creating a new classical drama. Terence and Plautus plays served as a template for comedians, and Seneca's plays served as a template for tragedies. The significance of Greek dramatists. Only a small fraction of the work of five dramatists has survived to this day. The tragedians Aeschylus, Sophocles, and Euripides, and the comic writers Aristophanes and from the late 4th century, Menander. Chorus. What is a chorus? Chorus signifies the vocalists who perform as a group instead of solo in drama and music. A group of actors dubbed chorus in classical Greek theater utilize song, dance, recitation to narrate and remark on the play's main event. Medieval drama. Drama persisted after Rome fell, but because the church opposed it, little much is known about it. Despite church resistance, many pagans continued the rituals. Some people think that in order to counter the allure of pagan ceremonies, the church established its own theatrical events. The church and drama. Dramatic interludes were first used in church services in the 9th or 10th century, probably to make parts of the Mass clearer to the congregation who did not understand the Latin service. Easter was the first event to be dramatized. These tropes, from Latin tropes meaning added melody, probably originally sung and responded to by two parts of choir. Performed Easter morning in introduction of part of Mass, they use scenery called mansions, small houses, which is perhaps 3 by 3 and not much taller than 4. That represented a given location, a town, someone's home, heaven, hell, etc. The Middle Ages. The Middle Ages is a period of European history that lasted from the 5th until the 15th century. It began with the collapse of the Roman Empire and was followed by the Renaissance and the Age of Discovery. The drama outside the church. Plays began to give outdoors around 1200, staged in spring, summer. From this point on, the church had little direct involvement with drama. The plays were staged by trade guilds on platforms that were set up at various places throughout the town. Pageant wagons rolled up to each platform in intervals and performed play. Example of intervals play were rolled about 15 minutes long, started at 4:30 a.m. and at 7:30 p.m. Specific effects called secrets. As time progressed, towns moved to performing the cycle plays in a Cornish round instead of setting the platforms up at various points in town. They would be set up in a circle in a field. The audience would stand in the center of the platform, and the pageant wagons would line up behind the platforms. As soon as one mystery play finished, the next one would begin. The group that had finished would move their pageant away from their platform, and the next wagon would move into place. In this way, each mystery play only had to be performed one time, and the action was continuous. Eventually, the cycle plays became very elaborate, with a professional actor or director staging the entire production, as many as 400 performers involved in the production. Scenery and secrets likewise became much and more elaborate. Here's a photo of a church drama in the true meaning of Christmas. Other religious dramatist forms, the morality plays, flourished between the 1400s to the 1550s, dramatized spiritual trials of an average man. This is the bridge between religious and secular drama. EX, Everyman, c. 1500. They are allegories about moral temptation average man faces. During the 16th century, these were gradually secularized and performed by small professional troupes. The Renaissance or the Elizabethan drama. Renaissance literally means rebirth. During the 16th century, we see a rebirth and growth in every area of the art. Asterius evolved a set of guidelines for playwrights to follow. Artists and architects designed new theaters from seating arrangements to scene design to the mechanics of scene shifting. Note, women performed on stage for the entire period. As a result, the practice of allowing women to perform spread throughout Europe. The forms of Renaissance drama. Tragedy. The first tragedy written in Italian, Stefanisba the 1515 by Giangiaro Trissino. He followed the Greek formula, followed or overshadowed by Cintio or Beckel 1541. Fourth Italian tragedy performed followed Senecan formula. Comedy. Originally copied Romans or Greek subject setting as well as structure, evolved to Italian subject or settings, well established by the 1540s. And pastoral. A love story featuring romanticized characters such as shepherds and shepherdesses, nymphs and satyrs in idyllic rural settings. Opera. Towards the latter part of the 16th century, the Camerata Academy of Florence, Academy, a group of scholars organized to study one subject, i.e., classical drama or literary theory, attempted to recreate Greek tragedy, chorus, music, dance, plots from mythology. Others had tried this before, but the Camerata believed that Greek tragedies were sung or chanted. Renaissance audience loved the result, which became what we know as opera. Fourth opera was Daphne, 1594. The fourth great operatic composers were Monteverdi, who emphasized the musical aspect, Orfeo. By 1650, opera's popularity has spread all throughout Italy and Europe. The Renaissance Theater. The Renaissance began in the 1300s and coexisted with the Middle Ages or medieval thinking. The Renaissance did not dominate until the 16th century. A number of things brought about the Renaissance. First, the decline in feudalism, the increased growth of cities, and the increased power of princes and rulers, the lessening influence of the church over learning and life, and the invention of the movable type of printing press. The history of modern drama. The English drama during the modernist period, 1845 to 1945 AD, falls into three categories. The fourth and the earliest phase of modernism in English drama is marked by the play of G.B. Shaw and John Galsworthy, which constitute the category of social drama modeled on the play of Henrik Ibsen. The second and the middle phase of modernist English drama comprise the plays of Irish movement, contributed by some elites like William Butler Yeats. In this phase, the drama contained the spirit of nationalism. The third and the final phase of modernist English drama comprised plays of T.S. Eliot and Christopher Fry. This phase saw the composition of poetic dramas inspired by the earlier Elizabethan and Jacobean tradition. The modern drama characteristics. We have realism, play of ideas, romanticism, poetic plays, history and biographical plays, Irish movement, comedy of manners, impressionism, and expressionism. The realism. Realism is the most significant and outstanding quality of modern English drama. The dramatists of the earlier years of the 20th century were interested in naturalism, and it was their endeavor try to deal with real problems of life in a realistic technique through their plays. Plays of idea modern drama is essentially a in which they want to spread in society. Modern drama dealing with the problems of life has become far more intelligent than ever. It was in the history of drama before the present age with the treatment of actual life. The drama became more and more a drama of ideas, sometimes veiled in the main action, sometimes didactically act forth. Romanticism. The earlier dramatists of the 20th century were realists at the core, but the passage of time brought in a new trend in modern drama, romanticism, which had been very dear to Elizabethan dramatists, found its ways in modern drama, and it is mainly due to Sir J.M. Barrie's efforts that the new wave of romanticism swept over modern drama. For some years of the 20th century, Battle kept aloof from the realities of life and made excursions into the world of drama of ideas rather than action. The stage is used by dramatists to give expression to certain ideas. Poetic plays. T.S. Eliot was the main dramatist who gave importance to poetic plays and was the realistic prose drama of the modern drama. Stephen Phillips, John Drinkwater, Yeats, etc. were from those who wrote poetic plays. Biography plays. Another trend visible in the modern English drama is in the direction of using history and biography from dramatic technique. There are many beautiful historical and biographical plays in modern drama literature. And the Irish movement. A new trend in the modern English drama was introduced by the Irish dramatists who brought about the Celtic revival in the literature. In the hands of the Irish dramatists like Yeats, J.M. Synge, T.C. Murray, etc., drama ceased to be realistic in character and became an expression of the hopes and aspirations of the Irish people from remote ways to their own times. Comedy of manners. There is a revival of the comedy of manners in modern drama, literature. Oscar Wilde, Maugham, and Coward, etc., have done much to revive the comedy of wit in our days. The drama author II has not exhibited a love for comedy, and the social conditions of the period after the war is not very favorable for the development of the artificial comedy of the Restoration Age. The Impressionism. It is a movement that shows the effects of things and events on the mind of the artist and the attempt of the artist to express his expressions. Impressionism constitutes another important feature of modern drama. In the impressionistic plays of W.B. Yeats, the main effort is in the direction of recreating the experience of the artist and the impressions about reality, rather than in presenting reality as it is. The impressionistic drama of the modern age seeks to suggest the impressions on the artist rather than making an explicit statement about the objective characteristics of things or objects. And finally, we have Expressionism. It is a movement that tries to express the feeling and emotions of the people rather than objects and events. Expressionism is another important feature of the modern drama. It marks an extreme reaction against the naturalism, the movement which had started earlier in Germany made its way in England drama, and several modern dramatists like J.B. Priestley, Sean O'Casey, Sticky Monroe, Elmer Rice have made experiments in the expressionistic tendency in modern drama. Types of drama. So the first type of drama we have is tragedy, a play written in a serious, sometimes impressive or elevated style in which things go wrong and cannot be set right except at great cost or sacrifice. Aristotle said that tragedy should purge our emotions by evoking pity and fear or compassion and awe in us, the spectators. Comedy, a play written in a kindly or humorous, perhaps bitter or satiric vein in which the problems or difficulties of the characters are resolved satisfactorily, if not for all characters, at least from the point of view of the audience. Low character, as opposed to the noble character, not always changed by the action or the play. Based upon observation of life, comedy and tragedy are concerned more with the character, whereas farce and melodrama are concerned more with plot. The tragic comedy, a play with the sincerity and earnestness of tragedy, but without its inevitability of impending disaster, and with the kindly and tolerant attitude of comedy, but without its underlying spirit of humor, uses these situations and moments of extreme conflict, but the tragedy is averted and transcended. Historical plays. These fall under the development of drama, by the way. I'm sorry, because tragedy types of dramas have to come last, but that's okay. A historical play is a theatrical work that dramatizes historical events, figures, or eras, often blending factual history with creative storytelling. This play aims to present a narrative that reflects the political, social, and cultural context of the time depicted, allowing audience to engage with history in an entertaining format. History plays often highlight the themes such as power struggle, personal ambition, and the impact of individual actions on larger historical movements. European drama is an essential component of Western culture, originated in ancient Greece around the 5th century BCE. It encompasses genres like tragedy and comedy, with contributions from playwrights such as Fickle, Shakespeare, Ibsen, and Beckett. European drama has maintained its significance, with many plays becoming staples of the Western literary canon. And now I'll hand over it to my partner, Mr. Tony Sampson, and she'll do the rest.
Hello once again, and now I am going to talk about dramatic techniques. First off, we have foreshadowing. Okay, so foreshadowing is a powerful literature technique that writers employ to hint at future events in their storytelling. It suggests what it comes through imagery, language, and or symbolism. It does not directly give away the outcome, but rather it suggests it. Types of foreshadowing. First off, we have direct, hinting at an outcome or event by openly, directly suggesting what could happen. Indirect, hinting at an outcome or event by leaving subtle, indirect clues to the plotline. Next up, we have prophecy. This foreshadows a crucial event without revealing the details on how it will occur. In storytelling, as a general rule, a prophecy always comes true in one way or another. And lastly, we have symbolism and or omen. This uses minor or insignificant things as symbols that foreshadow something that will happen. Next up, we have examples of foreshadowing. Now, these are two very similar paragraphs, but they're different types of foreshadowing. First example, a professionally dressed woman hurriedly leaves the house, slamming the front door. She frantically searches for her keys in the bottom of a giant purse, while balancing a briefcase under her arm. She finds her keys, gets in the car, and begins backing out of the driveway, then slams on the brakes. I feel like I'm forgetting something, she says. She shrugs and drives away. Now, this is an example of indirect foreshadowing. She said, this is an example of indirect foreshadowing. Next is another example, and this example is direct foreshadowing. A professionally dressed woman hurriedly leaves the house, slamming the front door. She frantically searches for her keys in the bottom of a giant purse, while balancing a briefcase under her other arm. She finds her keys, gets in the car, and backs out of the driveway. As the car drives away, the camera moves back towards the front of the door and into the house, where a USB stick is sitting on a shelf next to the front door. So in the first example, she says how she thinks she forgot something, but in this example, they show you exactly what she forgot, which shows implication. Okay, next is flashbacks. A flashback is a narrative technique used in literature, film, and other forms of storytelling to transport the audience back in time to a previous event or scene. The types of flashbacks are analeptic flashback. This is a type of flashback in which you jump back in time to reveal a past event. An internal flashback. With internal flashback, you get insight into a character's thoughts and memories. Flashback framing. This is when a story starts in the present, but the majority of the plot takes place in the past through flashbacks. And lastly, a dramatic flashback. Dramatic flashbacks occur when a past event is revealed in a climatic or heightened moment in the story. Next, I have an example of a flashback. Okay, it's the Titanic, which takes place in 1997. Okay, we foresee Rose as a very elderly lady listening to a news report about items salvaged from the Titanic, including a drawing of herself as a young woman. After a number of brief flashback scenes that Rose remembers, we go back to 1912 as she's interviewed about her time on the Titanic. The bulk of the story is set in the past, but the end of the movie returns to the framing narratives in the present day. Next, I'm going to talk about imagery. Imagery is a language used by poets, novelists, and other writers to create images in the mind of the reader. Imagery includes figurative and metaphorical language to improve the reader's experience through their senses. Now, the types of imagery. First off, we have visual imagery, which visual imagery describes what we see. Next is auditory imagery, and this describes what we hear, from music to noise to pure silence. Next is olfactory imagery, which describes what we smell. Next is gustatory imagery, which describes what we taste. And lastly, we have tactile imagery, which describes what we feel or touch. And next, I have two examples of imagery. The first one, the night was black as ever, but bright stars lit up the sky in beautiful and varied constellations, which were sparkled across the astronomical landscape. This is an example of visual imagery. And secondly, we have silence was broken by the peal of piano keys as Shannon began practicing her concerto. This is an example of auditory imagery. Okay, moving on. We have symbols. A symbol is something which stands for or represents something else. Symbols are often used in drama to deepen its meaning and remind the audience of themes or issues it is discussing. Some examples of symbols would be a white coat represents medicine, science, or authority. A dove represents peace and tranquility. A torn wedding photograph represents divorce or separation. And a lamb represents new life, spring, innocence, or sacrifice. Now we have tone. In literature, tone is the attitude or approach that the author takes towards the work's central theme or subject. Works of literature can have many different types of tone, such as humorous, solemn, distant, and so on. Tone is one of the most important ways we grasp the meaning of what someone is saying. Techniques to convey tone in literary work. Punctuation. Punctuation is a dynamic tool that doesn't just function as a way to end or abridge a sentence. Using punctuation in certain ways can create a unique tone. Next, we have dialogue. Using dialogue through characters or a narrator can be a simple way to convey tone. If a writer wants a tone of helplessness, the character can convey that in their speech to each other. Next, we have word usage. Word choice can help set tone in literature as well. Using words that directly describe the tone along with synonyms is another technique that writers will use often. And last, we have sentence arrangement. The way sentences are written and arranged can have a dramatic effect on tone. And lastly, for dramatic techniques, we have mood. Mood refers to the emotional response that the writer wishes to invoke in the reader through a story. Okay, now I'm going to talk about how writers establish mood in literature. Writers could use figurative language. Figurative language involves describing something by comparing it to something else. The words that are used do not have the same literal meaning. Next is descriptive language. When authors use descriptive language, they can paint a picture that instantly sets the mood. And lastly, we have the setting. The setting of the story is a major way to set the mood. A story set in a sunny beach house on the coast of Italy will have a very different mood than a story set in a log cabin deep in the snowy Canadian wilderness. Okay, now I'm going to move on to the other concepts related to drama. First, we have playwright. A playwright is a theater artist who writes scripts to be performed on a stage or in a theatrical setting. In theater, they are the equivalent of the screenwriter for films. In English language, William Shakespeare is perhaps the most famous playwright, penning well-known works such as Hamilton, Macbeth, and Romeo and Juliet. Moving on, we have script. A script is a document that comprises setting, characters, dialogues, and stage directions for movies, TV shows, and stage plays. When directors stage such productions, they follow the instructions provided by the script. In live theater, scriptwriters are playwrights, and the scripts are known as play scripts. Now we have props. Props are objects used on stage or in performance to enhance storytelling, provide context, and create believable environments for the characters. They can include anything from furniture and handheld items to larger set pieces that help define the space and the action. And here I have an example of props. Okay. Now I move on to types of props. The first type is called person's prop. They are the types of props you would use on the body. For instance, a man checking the time on his pocket watch, or a person taking out a pocketbook and pen out and using them. The props are utilized on the body. Next we have hand props. Okay. Now I'm going to talk about hand props. These are props set on the stage for the actors to use. For example, an actor picking up a glass or of water to drink. Lastly, we have set dressing. Often a set would be stylized in a particular way or set in a particular period of time. The artistic designer or the set designer or set dresser is responsible for the look. Dressings can be curtains, lights, carpets, rugs, grass, plants, statues, basically anything which is seen on the stage which isn't a personal prop or a set fixed prop. Okay. Next, we have stage directions. Stage directions are the instructions in a script that guide actors and crew on how to perform a scene, including movements, gestures, and emotional tones. They play a crucial role in the storytelling process, providing context and detail that helps to shape a performance. They can include specific instructions about the setting, such as lighting changes or sound effects, which helps create the atmosphere of a scene. Next, we have act. An act is a major division within a play or a dramatic work that typically contains multiple scenes. Acts are fundamental in structuring the narrative, establishing conflicts, and guiding the audience through the emotional journey of the story. Moving on, we have the backdrops. Backdrops are large painted or printed canvases used on stage to create an illusion of setting environment or atmosphere for theatrical performances. They play a vital role in enhancing the visual storytelling by providing context and depth, often depicting locations or landscapes that align with the narrative of the play. And here we have an example of a background. Yeah. Okay, moving on to the set. The most essential aspect of set design is to show the audience where the action takes place, which might be as general as a country or specific as a room within the house. And here we have an example of a set, which shows a barn. Great. And lastly, we have the costumes. Costumes in theater is a wearable piece of clothing specifically designed, fitted, and are worn for a particular play, musical, or show. A costume is a particular style worn by an actor to portray a character at an event or theatrical production. And here we have examples of actors wearing different costumes. Okay, now I'll move on to the types of stages. First, we have the proscenium stage. Of all the different types of theater stages, the proscenium stage is perhaps the most readily recognizable. One of the traditional features of a proscenium stage is the proscenium arch, an architectural frame around the stage which doesn't necessarily need to be in an arch shape. Next, we have examples of proscenium stage. So the first picture is a proscenium stage, how it usually looked like in the past. And the next picture is a more modern version of a proscenium stage. Okay. Next, we have a truss stage. This truss stage features audience members on three sides of the stage. This is because the stage truss out past the proscenium and into the audience. The size of the truss stage could encompass the entire stage or essentially a large extension of the forestage or apron. Now we have examples of a truss stage in the past and an example of a truss stage in the modern setting. Next, we have arena theater. An arena stage features audience on all four sides. These types of stage are used when no background is required and when the audience needs to engage with the performance from all sides. Although the arena theater can accommodate theoretical performances, this theater type is better suited for other types of events such as concerts. Moving on, we have open air theaters. An open air theater is an event that hosts performance in an open air setting, meaning the venue is open to the sky. These theaters, also commonly known as amphitheaters, can include multiple forms of stage, such as theaters in the round. And lastly, we have flexible stages. Although many stage spaces and theaters are designed to feature lighting, props, and other elements used in the performance, there are other stages that cater to a minimalized style of performance. One example is a flexible theater, also known as studio theater or a black box theater. The flexible theater is designed to accommodate a wide range of needs. Unlike other types of stages and theaters, flexible theaters aren't fixed. Okay, that brings us to the end of the presentation. And on the other slides, we have our references. And these are what we use to make this presentation. Okay.
So thank everyone for listening to our presentation and have a wonderful day or evening.
Yes, thank you.